right. Well, good morning to our morning devotions. We're in the last chapter of the book of Ruth. Fabulous portion of scripture. Appreciate the comments that I'm getting on some of the things that we've addressed already. It's all very interesting. And so let's look at chapter 4 as we wrap this up. We ended on Boaz telling Ruth that he was going to take care of this in the morning. So this is the morning. And this is when Naomi says, just sit still because the men are going to get this all squared away. So it is it's this is a business transaction. What we're going to see here. So there's going to be some technicalities in this business transaction, and so that's the tough part of this. It is a love story, but for this love story to actually be complete, where Boaz is going to marry Ruth, there are these Levitical laws that have to be followed through. And the way they're practiced here in Ruth in the book of Judges, as you would expect, is not exact. Excuse me, is not exactly the way it was laid out in the Pentateuch. Okay, so let's just look at it for a bit. Okay, as we see, there's 22 chapters, but the last chapters, verses 18 through 22, you can tell were not written in at the same time. This was added, or at least the book of Ruth was written so much later, right? Because the last verses are the lineage of this, and it goes all the way to David. Well, there's no such thing as David in the book of Judges, which is very interesting. Which is to say that the book of Ruth has been edited. It was it, and some people find that problematic, but not as long as the editing is inspired, given by inspiration of the Holy Spirit. So we call it editing because it wasn't written at the same time the book was written, um, or the book was written very, very late. All right, about in the time of Judges, or it was something that was added subsequently, which I don't think should cause any problem. Anyway, the last from 18 to 22 is the tradition or the lineage of 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 the kids following Boaz and Ruth. 18, it says, now these are the generations of Phares. Phares begat Hezron. Hezron begat Ram. Ram begat Abinadab. Abinadab begat Nashon. Nashon begat Salmon. Salmon begat Boaz, which is where we are here. Boaz begat Obed. Now we're getting really close. Obed begat Jesse, and Jesse begat David. That is, Obed was David's great was his grandfather. All right, and uh, and Salmon was David's great grandfather. I mean, which gets us down to David, which is easy to mark from there, because Christ was born in Bethlehem, and David. I mean, Mary and Joseph have to go back to the house of David because they were of the house and lineage. Excuse me, Bethlehem, because they were of the house and lineage of David. But that's the end of this, okay, which is very important because this whole process demonstrates a step in that link in the lineage of Christ. But here we go. In verse 1, it says, then went Boaz up to the gate, which is the place of judgment. When it talks about the gate, this is where the judges of the city sat, or the elders that were going to decide uh, business matters, legal matters. Then Boaz went up to the gate and sat down there, and behold, the kinsman of whom Boaz spake came by, unto whom he said, ho, such a one, turn aside, sit down here. And he turned aside and sat down. So here's Boaz and the man that's a kinsman, but is closer to him, Elimelech, than Boaz. He says, hey, come over here and sit down. He says, sure. He said, and he took 10 men of the elders of the city, and 10 is what you needed. Not only, I think it's 10 you needed to start a synagogue, but he's saying 10 is the number here to adjudicate something. So he's got 10 of these elders because they're going to decide on this legal issue that they're going to bring up in regards to the kinsman redeemer, because this idea of being being a kinsman redeemer was going to cost a lot, a lot. I mean, to redeem someone. All right, and I'll just stay into it. You could being a kinsman redeemer was going to cost so much, and that's why the guy here, the near kinsman, he doesn't want any part of it for that and other reasons. But he says, he said, and he took 10 men of the elders of the city and said, set ye down here, and they sat down. And he said unto the kinsman, now, so here's Boaz speaking to the one that's closer in line that's in line for all Elimelech's property. He says, Naomi that has come again out of the country of Moab selleth a parcel of land, all right, which our brother, which was our brother Elimelech's. Now, what that is saying is that Naomi would have sold Elimelech's property because she didn't have any way to sustain herself. All right, the property belongs to somebody else, but in the Jewish tradition, it was only going to remain in the hands of someone else until the year of Jubilee. So if you're going to buy the property, you would determine how much the land was worth depending on how much it would produce from the time that you're buying it to the year of Jubilee when it returns back to the original owner. You see, so it depending how far are you away from the year of Jubilee or the 50-year mark, it might have been a lot, all right, a lot, or it might have not been as much, but apparently it sounds like it's a sizable sum here because the gentleman here, the near kinsman, he doesn't want to do it because it's going to mar his inheritance. And I have to cushion that just a little bit because I'm not sure that's exactly the big issue, but it might have been. Boaz can manage all this because he's rich. Doesn't matter how much is still owed on the property that Naomi sold, and now we're going to someone that is Elimelech's, so she can take care of herself. That Boaz is now going to buy back at the cost of whatever the guy's going to charge from the time he makes the deal to the year of Jubilee, because the year of Jubilee, it's all going back to Elimelech's family anyway. Okay? So he said, Naomi that has come again out of the country of Moab selleth a parcel of land, which was our brother Elimelech's. And I thought to advertise thee. I'm just trying to tell you what's going on. Buy it before the inhabitants, before the elders of my people. If thou wilt redeem it, redeem it. But if thou wilt not redeem it, which just means to buy. If you're going to buy it, buy it. Um, but if thou wilt not redeem it, or you're not going to buy it, then tell me, that I may know. And there is none to redeem it besides thee, and I am after thee. So he's saying this all in front of all the judges. He says, there's no other near kinsman. There's you and me, but you have first dibs. So if you're going to redeem it, redeem it. If you're not going to, then I understand because I'm next in line. So what do you want to do? Everybody's listening. This is how it all works. And the nearer kinsman says, and he said, I will redeem it. All right. What a deal. I'll do it. Sure. And then Boaz expands on this. I mean, this is really what it's going to mean if you do this. Boaz, as I said, he's a genius. He's not giving it all. He's working through the process. He's making a case for this redemption. So he says, so the near kinsman says, yeah, I'll take it. I'll redeem it. I'll buy it. And then Boaz goes on and says in verse 5, then said Boaz, the day that thou buyest the field of the hand of Naomi, thou must buy it also of Ruth the Moabitess. You see, because Ruth is the daughter or the daughter-in-law of Elimelech, the wife of Mahlon, which is one of the boys. So the transition would have gone like this: from Elimelech to Mahlon to his son, and now that they're both deceased, it would fall to Ruth as the one that would raise up a family after Elimelech, that the name of Elimelech would not be lost in the nation of Israel. That's the whole idea of this Levirate marriage, that we're going to preserve the lineage of Elimelech because he's gone, and now the son Mahlon's gone as well. But the wife that can raise up, that can bear a child in the tradition of Mahlon, which is in the tradition of Elimelech, she's the one that comes with the property. You see, it's not just the land. If you buy the land, you have to take the woman as well, because the whole idea of all of this is to raise up a family that would be of the family of Elimelech. You see, one reason the guy is going to say he doesn't want it is because of this. Let's say you somebody's got a piece of property. Let's just use this illustration. So he says, yeah, I'll buy the land. And then he has to marry Ruth. This is what the nearer kinsman has to do. But when the son is born of Ruth, the boy in the tradition of Elimelech and Mahlon gets the property, not his own kids. You see, because it belongs in that tradition. It belongs to that family. So he's thinking to himself, this could cost me a lot. And because there's a woman connected to this that I have to marry, which is what it's all about, the levirate marriage, to raise up a child that will follow in the line of Elimelech and Mahlon. He's thinking to himself, wow, I mean, this could be a lot. And then the commentators they're great on this. He's undoubtedly already married this guy, and now he's got to take on another wife, which in the comments are they just talk about all the trouble in the home. What other woman wants you marrying another one and bringing her into the house, right? So he's got these financial concerns. After it's all over, he's going to give everything that he's invested into to Ruth's son, right? That's where this is going. It's going to Ruth's son, not to a son that he's had by of his own family tradition. So all of that he's going to invest in it is going to be, from his perspective, gone. And then all that time he's got to have another wife in the house during this whole thing, which probably wasn't going to work out very well. Okay, that's what we're going to look at here. So he says, the guy says, "I will redeem it." Then said Boaz, "What day that thou buyest the field of the hand of Naomi?" All right, that land belongs to Naomi. Thou must buy it also of Ruth the Moabitess, because she is in the tradition of the family. She comes with it. All right, because she's part of the family. um, the wife of the dead, to raise up a name of the dead upon his inheritance. And see, that's where the connection with Ruth is. You got to have to raise up somebody of the dead, which here it would be directly Mahlon, but in the tradition of Elimelech, of which he is the near kinsman. All right. So it's not just the property, it's the wife. You have to marry her. That's part of the deal, because the whole idea of a levirate marriage isn't just to take the property, it's to raise up a family in the name of the deceased dad. Okay? So you have to marry her, and you have to have a son, of which, when he's of age, you're going to give the property that you bought. It's going to be his, not the guy, not the near kinsman. All right? So he said, uh, let me read it again. Then said Boaz, "What day thou buyest the field in the hand of Naomi, thou must buy it also of Ruth." It's not technically her property, you see, because I'm just saying she's in the family, but that's the way it's described. That binds the whole argument together. Ruth the Moabitess, the wife of the dead, to raise up the name of the dead upon his inheritance. And the kinsman said, "I cannot redeem it for myself. I'm not going to buy that, lest I mar mine own inheritance." You see, he does not want to ruin his own inheritance. He doesn't want to take all his money, sock it into this property, only to leave it to Ruth's kid. Okay. Now he's going to raise it as his own, but it's not going to be his property when it's all over. It's all going to go to Ruth's son. And then there's the issue, he doesn't want to mar his inheritance either, because he's going to be taking another woman into his house. All right. Which in the Old Testament, this is perfect. This is exactly the way it was supposed to happen. You're supposed to marry your brother's or near kinsman's wife to raise up a family, so your name is not lost out of Israel. It's in the Bible. I didn't look up the passage, but we went through that in some detail if you've been with me in morning devotions. That's how it works. All right. So he just said, "I'm not doing it." Which if you look at it in the law, it's this would to say I'm not going to do that is simply to say that I don't care if your family's name, and I'm related to this, the near kinsman would be, but I don't care if that individual's name is just lost in Israel. That's essentially what you're saying, that his whole family lineage comes to an end. All right, that's what you're saying. That's why back in the law, you took off your shoe and spit in his face. All right. Now there's no spitting here. That's the other thing. The things after a while, they here it seems to be more civil. All right, but not as I mean, spitting in somebody's face is pretty bad. All right. So let's keep going. The kinsman said, "I cannot redeem it for myself, lest I mar my own inheritance. Redeem thou my right to thyself, for I cannot redeem it." Oh, there you go. All 10 of the elders are hearing this. This is all happening in a very official way. He says, "I'm going to take it. You got it." To Boaz. Now, this was the manner in former time in Israel concerning redeeming and concerning charging. For to confirm all things, a man plucked off his shoe and gave it to his neighbor, and this was a testimony in Israel. Now, that's true. You take off your shoe, but there's also spitting. But here it's just taking off the shoe. All right. Therefore, the kinsman said unto Boaz, buy it for thee. So he drew off his shoe. It's just the tradition. Okay. And Boaz said unto the elders and unto the people, ye are witnesses this day that I have bought all that was Elimelech's. And he's going to keep going here, which is the case we made earlier. And that was Chilion's and Mahlon's of the hand of Naomi. I have it all now. I am the kinsman. I purchased it all, whatever it costs. All right. I always thought when I read this, the value of wealth, right? This was only going to happen, not only, but because we don't know all the details, but the fact that he is a very wealthy man cleared all of this up. You see, there's certain things that can be accomplished. And here in the lineage of Christ, it took a rich man here to work this out because he's buying everything that had been sold off and getting it back. All right, whatever that was, but he just was able to do it. It didn't mar his. It didn't hurt Boaz. He just expanded his land holdings, and he's not married. He doesn't have any children, so he's happy to leave this to now. This is going to be his son. It's not going to be like the other kinsman redeemer, which is going to have complications. All right, this is now going to be Boaz's family, and it's going to be his son. So all this property is going to be left to the son of Ruth. All right, because uh, this is going to be his family. So the tradition is just going to move together. All right. Let's see. Moreover, Ruth the Moabitess, the wife of Mahlon, have I purchased to be my wife to raise up the name of the dead upon his inheritance, that the name of the dead be not cut off among his brethren. And from the gate of this place ye are witnesses this day. So I'm going to do it to make sure that the tradition of Elimelech is not forever lost. And all the people that were in the gate and the elders said, we are witnesses. The Lord make the woman that is come into thine house like Rachel and like Leah. Oh boy. See, we're getting back into this, right? Rachel only had two kids, right? And that was Joseph and Benjamin. Leah had children, but of all those children, not all of them, hardly any of them, were actually born of these women. They were born of their handmaids. But this is the tradition. Which two did build the house of Israel, and do thou worthily in Ephratah, and be famous in Bethlehem. All right, this is going to be big, big news. All right, here in Bethlehem. And let thy house be like the house of Pharez, whom Tamar bare unto Judah. And that's amazing. I'm not going to get into that right now. Uh, of the seed which God shall give thee of this young woman. So Boaz took Ruth, and she was his wife. And when he went in unto her, the Lord gave her conception, and she bare a son. And the woman said unto Naomi, now Naomi is a grandma. All right? Okay? Um, and the women said unto Naomi, blessed be the Lord, which has not left thee this day without a kinsman, that his name may be famous in Israel. And he shall be unto thee a restorer of thy life and a nourisher of thine old age. For thy daughter-in-law, which loveth thee, which is better to thee than 7 sons, hath borne him. Your daughter's better than 7 sons. Talking about Ruth. I mean, it's a remarkable thing, isn't it? And Naomi took the child and laid it in her bosom and became nurse unto it. That is Naomi. That's what grandmas do, right? Grandmas just they dote on their grandkids. That's all we're reading here, right? And the women, her neighbors, gave it a name, saying, "There's a child born to Naomi." Oh man! See, we got Naomi back in the picture again. Now we're not talking about it being the son of, of of Ruth. It's the son of Naomi. Um, um, there's a son born to Naomi, and they called his name Obed, and he is the father of Jesse, the father of David. It's amazing what's happened here. All right. So that is the end of Ruth chapter 4. There was a man near that could have redeemed all that property. Either he couldn't afford it. If he could afford it, he didn't want to do it because it was going to be left to Ruth's son. So he was never going to see the value of his investment. All right, it was always when that boy got old enough, he was going to be on his own. Everything he invested in that piece of property would go to him. And there's the issue of whether or not I want another woman in the house. So he says, no, I don't want it to mar my inheritance. I don't want it to already be too hard on me. So you take it. So Boaz does. He buys all the property and he gives the list here that belonged to that entire family, and with the property, because the whole idea is raising up a child after in the tradition of Elimelech, that he marries Ruth. All right, and there you have it. And in this, the whole idea of this is there's going to be a son born, and the son is Obed. That is his name. This is Obed. And at this stage in the game, I know we're talking about the tradition of Elimelech, but when Obed comes on the scene, the whole way that we relate to this is not connected with Elimelech anymore. It's just not connected with Elimelech. We don't. He's here in the Bible. We know it's the Levirate marriage. But after this is how it goes in the Bible. It goes Obed, Jesse, David. And now we're talking about the house of David. It's the house of David. And after that, the book of Ruth, as far as this connector, it serves as a connector, but as far as its significance, diminishes significantly. Because now we're talking about the house and lineage of David, of which Obed is his grandfather and Jesse is his dad. And Obed is the son of Boaz and Ruth, which comes through Boaz's ability to redeem all the property that belonged to Elimelech and then to Naomi and Mahlon and Chilion, and in that to Ruth as well. Okay, and there's the end of this great love story. And they all lived happily ever after. It doesn't say that, but I think they lived happily ever after. Okay. Well, the Lord bless you. You have a great day. This is just Wednesday. And we're going to start First Samuel tomorrow. And this is just fascinating stuff. So for those that have been sticking with me on this, I trust this has been a blessing. It's a little bit on every chapter. It will give us like the 30,000 foot view of what's in each chapter as we work through this. And when we get into First Samuel, it's all going to start about the fact that his wife that we're going to start with Shiloh and Eli being at Shiloh, and Hannah not being able to bear a child and all of that, and where you get the last of the judges and the first of the prophets, which is Samuel, a remarkable man. Okay, well, the Lord bless you. Have a great day. We'll see you. Bye.